Marie Antoinette said nothing about eating cake. Quick plug, like and share. Now the saying "let them eat cake" had been falsely attributed to the late Queen of France, the Austrian Archduchess Marie Antoinette Josephine Jeanne, of the House of Habsburg, who allegedly said it after hearing the peasants had no bread to eat. So it's odd that this saying was first recorded in 1765, nearly a quarter century before the French Revolution and an entire 5 years before King Louis XV arranged the marriage between her and the Dauphin, Louis Auguste, Duke of Berry, and the king's grandson. In the book, The Confessions, by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, which was written between 1765 and 1769, but published in 1782, primarily covered Jean-Jacques Rousseau's life up until 1769. The passage in particular was written when the author was looking for some bread to accompany the wine that he stole. There was a second half, Book 7 to 12, but that's not needed here. Quote, "At length I remembered the last resort of a great princess who, when told that the peasants had no bread, replied, 'Qu'il mange de la brioche,' meaning let them eat brioche. With brioche being an enriched bread, that was translated as cake to get the point across in English. Now, who likely was the great princess? Likely the Dauphine, Maria Josepha Carolina Eleanor Franziska Xaveria Wedden. But did the Dauphine actually say it? It doesn't matter. All that matters is that Queen Marie Antoinette Habsburg never said it. So why do we think she did? Propaganda and xenophobia. Unfortunately for the Queen, there were several factors against her. While the book was written when the Archduchess was 9 to 13, it wasn't published until she was 26, having been a queen since she was 18. So when Jean-Jacques Rousseau mentioned the great princess, most people would imagine the then queen, not her predecessor. Next was the negative view of the nobility at the time. To summarize, the French government is divided into 3 estates: the clergy, about 1%, the nobility, about 2%, and the rest, about 97%. Despite their differences in population, each group has the same influence in the government, meaning that the church and nobility can dictate policy if they work together. An example would if they decided to reform the tax system, to reduce the taxation of the nobility and the church, while increasing taxes on the peasantry. The nobility also had the political obligation to show their wealth, displaying that they were financially well off. This was especially true for the monarchy. So while the people were crushed under the cost of living, they would see the monarchy, particularly the Queen, living the high life. Next was the fact that the Queen was a German foreigner. As an Austrian Archduchess, she was always seen as an outsider, especially when the French Republic was at war with the Austrian Empire in 1792. Lastly, was the fact that she was a woman, and a foreigner, in the 1700s. Then the French Revolution happened and about 30 to 45,000 were killed during the Reign of Terror. The monarchy and many nobles disappeared along with the nation's rationality. Now while the phrase would not be attached to the former queen who the people had called her unpleasant names such as Madame Deficit, until 1843. The book Les Guebs by Alphonse Karr was responsible for actually attaching the saying to the late queen. Technically, the 1841 edition of Les Guebs said, quote, "C'est père se rappelle. Le mauvais ou fauquement rapport de Marie Antoinette, s'il n'y a pas de pain on mangera de la brioche." or the sensate recalls the true or false words reported from Marie Antoinette, "If there is no bread we will eat brioche." But it is theorized that it wasn't Marie Antoinette but King Louis XIV's wife, Maria Theresa, who had actually said it, if it was ever said. This is backed up by the literal phrase being recorded when Marie Antoinette was 9, and also in Austria. So why do we think she said it? Because it makes a clear narrative for revolutionaries and anti-monarchists to use. The foreign noble is out of touch with the people and ends up dead. But in many cases, real life lacks such clear narratives. It's harder to dislodge a well-known lie that validates an ideal than a truth that doesn't fit the narrative.